Is there a fundamental driver to American street violence?
I think so. I think the driver is anger. We have to talk about why there's so much anger. And that anger, I think, is not a simple thing. I think it's complex, and I think it's long suffering. And I think it's also the outcome of things that have broken down, right, on a lot of different levels. I think that first and foremost, when a person is there, it's an act of frustration. For example, or what I call in my book block goals. Some of the work of Dr. Samuels. This whole idea: if you take a baby and you constantly block the baby, right? Each time it reaches for something, you move it or you block it, it'll get frustrated and angry. And if that's consistent enough, the result's going to be this outburst, and it's going to be anger, and it's going to be potentially violent. And that violence can happen on a lot of different levels. You can implode, violence is internalized, or it can explode, violence is externalized. If every time I go to the door, someone hits me, right? And let's say that everyone I know, that whenever they go to this door, someone hits them. Eventually folks stop going to the door, right? It's called learned helplessness. Right? And then there's something called vicarious learned helplessness, right? Which means that if you're my hero, if you're my dad, you're the person I look up to, and you can't go to the door, then I'm not going to even try to go to the door. That's called vicarious learned helplessness, right? So after a while, the door is open. Wait, first of all, the door isn't even, not only is there no one there and no one going to hit you, the door is open and folks won't go to the door. The good news is you can have learned efficacy. Right? The same thing can happen the other way. Well, if you can do it, I can do it, right? If I can see that, if I can experience that process, then I can break that behavior. But if that is what I see for the most part in my environment, that is what I have experienced and others like me, then I get to the point where I don't try anymore. But I'm still a human being. I still have all the wants, desires, goals, dreams. So I would talk to the young man, and when I was trying to put together my pilot, right, I would sit around, talk to kids in basketball. Yeah, I would talk to some kids who were incarcerated. I talked to all these different kids about violence and about the crime in the community and that kind of thing. And they would give me their reasons. I said, why do you think? And they go, people diss people. I said, diss? He said, yeah, well, you dissed him. People feel dissed. You diss somebody, meaning disrespect. So I said, well, I need to really unpack this respect thing. Hypothesis: the more respected an African American male youth felt, the less likely they'd be violent. The more disrespected they felt, the more likely they'd be violent, right? I asked them two open-ended questions. And this was going to really give me a sense of how they connect things. And the two questions were about respect. If you or your friends ever felt disrespected, why do you think it happened? And why do you think someone like you might be disrespected? So I let them all answer. 100 incarcerated, 100 that weren't in the rites of passage programs, culture specific. Got all of the results back, got all of their answers. The majority of their answers was because of being black. It's because of history. It's because of slavery. These were the words they came back with me. It's because we're black in a white man's America. Because they'll never give us a chance, because they hate us, because they're afraid we're powerful, because all of these things came back, very powerful statements by all 200 of these young black males. And so the question becomes, how long will you be black? Well, you will always be black. So how long, whether it's real or perceived, do you feel like you will be disrespected? So then I wanted to know, what was the most significant predictor of African American male youth violence of all of the variables? And once the two fall out, the baselines, which is victimization and we already know that, and witnessing, was respect. And respect is linked to history, the marginalization and the perpetual marginalization of black males. So when you start looking at criminal justice and how it treats these violent offenders, what it actually does, and this is an incredible book called Violence, by Gilligan. The idea of how do you stop the violence, what they normally do is figure, I'm going to break you. I'm going to break you down. So it's counterintuitive if you're dealing with black males, because the more you disrespect them, what's going to happen? The more violent they'll become. So the systems of correction are actually creating a greater problem. Are you following me? That's the problem, is that you're saying, I'm going to bring you down. I'm going to break you. Not black males. And I would suspect not Latino males either. Because when you do that, you're going to increase the violence. Because they're associating that violence with something far greater than just this moment. They're looking at a historical intent to hurt them, which, I'm sorry, you may say they're paranoid, but someone's following them, because the data shows that that is in fact what has happened up to 2015.